Hello and welcome to the We All Follow podcast. My name is Matt Fox. I'm your host today. I am joined by my good friend who lives on the hill, Nigel. How's it going, buddy?
Yeah, good man, good.
Great to see you. Now, follow us on X at We All Follow Pod. Like, follow, subscribe on YouTube. Leave your moment of the week down in the comments for us. Nigel, 2-footed into it. Moment of the week, brother.
Yeah, well, I don't know where to start really on a moment of the week. I think my moment of the week quite possibly could be, uh, yeah, it's gonna have to be. It's gonna have to be Pep Guardiola having a full-on final whistle meltdown with Stefan Ortega on the pitch at the G2 after conceding 2 goals in 8 minutes at the end of that game and going from 2-0 up to a 2-2 draw. Cities, they are. I don't know what's happening with them. They've absolutely gone, aren't they? They've gone. The aura's gone.
Yeah, whatever they had has totally melted away. I have a honorable mention, seeing as it's just the two of us. So my honorable mention is, Nigel, I like to go in and look at the mid-table teams and see players from them that I might like to pick out. And there was one such a mid-table team player who stuck out today, and that was Ahmad, who scored a hat trick against bottom of the table Southampton. I'm not sure if there's ever been a player that has come from Manchester United to Arsenal in such a way. I mean, and if it has, it was a very long time ago. But he might just be the one. When Arsenal win the league and he wants to win a league, he wants to come and compete for trophies from a mid-table team. You might see him coming back. The reverse Robin Van Persie. But he's only my honorable mention because I get to talk about the one and the only, the number 6, the king of Brazil, Big Gabby, who had a fabulous week this week in both competitions, even though Arsenal got knocked out of the FA Cup in Spursian fashion, to be honest. Like, a lot of times I think about the results and I think about how we would talk about them if it was Spurs that did it, right? And it gives me a perspective on, am I being too hard on my club? Am I not being hard enough on my club? If Spurs had played Man United with their first team and managed to draw 1-1 after having a player sent off and missing a penalty and then losing on penalties, I would be over the moon and I would be roasting them for the next 3 episodes, right? So I have to take it on the chin when it happens to my club. However, in that cesspit of a game, we had a performance from Big Gabby that was sensational. He scored a goal. He was the impetus of tons of actions. And then you come into the North London Derby, which, Nigel, I was about to shut down the podcast. I was gonna close it up. I was gonna deactivate the YouTube, and you weren't gonna hear from us ever again. If we had lost that game, mate, Sean would have been. I couldn't have handled it. I would have walked away. And to come in and to put in the performance that he put in on both, Arteta talks about both boxes, and he did it in both boxes. I mean, what more can you ask for?
Well, what more can you ask for? So I do believe that Big Gabby now is on 20 goals since he joined Arsenal. Just as a comparison, Jack Grealish has got 15 for Man City. Anthony has got 12 for Man United. And Richarlison's got 16 for Tottenham. Kind of say.
It's crazy, man. It's I turn off this light that's strobing in the background. Hopefully I can come back into focus. He just keeps on delivering, and whatever. I don't care. Whoever you want to attribute the goal to, that's his goal. That's Rice's assist, and I don't want to. Sometimes these like the stat counters, the bean pushers. I'm done with it, man. Like, can we give own goals as a goal? At least can we give them as an assist? And I'm
Well,
not talking about FPL. I'm talking about on the statistics. Because if I made the goal and I get paid off of goals and assists, then I gotta be getting something out of this.
the big one for me on that is I actually think Gabby's header probably wasn't on target. I think it was going across goal. But when you're that close to goal, there's a good chance it might have hit the far post and gone in. And it's robbed Declan Rice of an assist, and it's robbed Gabby of a goal, really. So yeah, I think it was a bit harsh. To give it straight as an own goal because Solanke's virtually on the line. So,
And what better time than to bring in our good friend who's just come from Manchester, Sean? How does it feel to come out of Old Trafford? Maybe getting a little bit wet, maybe getting a little bit happy.
now,
What's the vibes like, man?
Even worse that, Sean, how many mice or rats did you see inside the ground? Because there's videos circulating last night of mice and rats in the seating area.
I didn't see any. Well, I don't know. I've been hearing stories about it, so it's
only Bruno was there, Nigel. That was the only one we saw.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. I was talking to the Duncan Drasdo, the Musk guy, and they were telling me all about the whole black. Oh man, what a mess. But it was good, Look, we got battered for 75 minutes there, but you got to win that game, and that's what they did. So that was huge.
Yeah, I was telling Sean, I was telling Nigel that we like to look for players at mid-table teams that we might want to bring up to a team that's challenging in the Champions League places. And I thought that one of those players this week would be Ahmad, a player who's toiling in the obscurity of the mid-table and could be rescued by a team fighting for the Champions League's places in the next couple of years.
You can take Hoyland if you want.
Oh.
We'll give it to you for free.
I've got a question, Sean. Who's better, Hoyland or Xerxes?
Yeah, man. I mean, it goes back and forth from whatever day it is. But, when you saw Xerxes come on yesterday, I thought he was much better on the ball. Hoyland it's hard to describe. You can't trap the ball. He doesn't make runs. He looked a little lazy yesterday, to be honest, when I was watching from where it was. He wasn't making runs. He doesn't score goals. Xerxes, I mean, he came on. You saw he changed the game. I mean, he's a little bit slower, but at least he makes some passes. He does some stuff. I mean, I think for him, he's the guy. Going forward. I don't know how good he is, but you got to give him a chance here.
Yeah, I mean, I asked the same question to a Man United season ticket holder I know, and his answer was Anthony Martial. That was his answer.
They're all just not good enough, right? I mean,
No.
They've just been not. They've just been not good enough for too long, and that has to change. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So let's move into the table. That's what we do next here on this podcast. We look at the table, and we can see that after 2 draws in a row, Liverpool on 47 points are on being trailed tightly by Arsenal, who are up to 43 points. They move ahead of Forest on 41. Newcastle moving into the Champions League places with 38 points. And that next bracket continues to be really tight as Chelsea, Man City, Aston Villa, and Bournemouth round out the top 8, all separated by just, let me do the math, 3 points. Next, you have Brighton, Fulham, Brentford. Man United moving up into 12th this week after a win. West Ham moving up into 13th after a win. Spurs and Crystal Palace tied on 24 points after a Palace win. Everton and Wolves just above the drop zone. Ipswich, Leicester, and Southampton continue to be the bottom three, although, that's going to be kind of a flip-flop probably between the three of Everton, Wolves, and Ipswich over the next few weeks as the table starts to shake out. Nigel, as we look at the table from the 10,000 feet view like we do on this podcast, what do you see?
I always like to study the form guide, as we know, because if you're going to do a few bets, then you need to know what the form guide is and who's playing next. Now, the big thing, what I've noticed in recent weeks, Chelsea can't buy a win. And Enzo Maresca last season at Leicester, he went through a period, I think at one bit, Leicester was something like 16 points in front of second place in the Championship. They'd won the league. They might as well have given them the trophy there and then. And then they went on a run, I think, of about 12 games where I think they drew 4 and lost 8. They were shambolic. And all of a sudden, they'd been overtaken. Ipswich was in the lead, and then Leeds, and it was chopping and changing like that. Chelsea look like they are going through this exact same thing what Leicester did last year under Maresca, where they cannot buy a win. They're conceding sloppy goals. They're going behind regular, so they regularly concede the first goal. I mean, we didn't in midweek, but we ended up going behind 2-1, 1-0 up to 2-1 down. That'd worry me if I was a Chelsea fan. I thought Chelsea might have been nailed on for top 4 alongside Liverpool and Arsenal. I thought Forest would be the one to drop off, but it looks like Chelsea are the ones who are faltering currently. The other two teams who would worry me massively at this moment in time, Spurs, double-digit losses already, 1 point in their last 5 games. I think they've got 5 points out of the last 5 points out of the last 30 or something like that available. Spurs could get sucked into a relegation battle. Genuinely could get sucked into a relegation battle if they don't either turn it around on the pitch or change it in the dugout. They're the only 2 options for Spurs at the moment. They could genuinely get sucked in because Palace have found a bit of form. Mateta's started scoring. They look a little bit more solid at the back now. Guehi, Lacroix, Richards seem to have got something going there. Everton have changed the manager. I only think that surely David Moisinho will sort out Everton. They'll become a bit better than they were under Dyche. And I think Wolves have been looking the last 2 games. Wolves have had quite a few players missing, and I just think that once they get them players back, I think that Wolves might start building up a bit of momentum, which just leaves the bottom 3 as they are: Ipswich, Leicester, and Southampton. I think Ipswich have got a chance. I don't think Leicester have. They're going to concede too many goals with Ruud van Nistelrooy in charge. But yeah, if I'm Spurs, I am genuinely worried that I might get sucked into that relegation battle. And Man United, I was just going to say, Man United, first win in 5. Yeah, it came against a team who were statistically the worst team ever in Premier League history after 20 games. And then Man United's got to go away this weekend. So is it just a 12-minute salvo against the team who have got the worst defence in the league and were absolutely shocking for the last 15 minutes, or a Man United finally turning a bit of a corner?
Yeah, whenever we do this section, I always like to pull up the XGA statistics over on, shout out to friends of the show, FBref. And, they're not perfect statistics, obviously, as we all know, but it gives you an indication of the types of chances and how many of them a team is giving up, right? And when you look at a Chelsea, they're second in XG, right? So they're creating a tons of chances. They're scoring a lot of goals to go along with it, right? They have 42 XG. They have 41 goals, right? Typically, the best teams overperform XG a little bit, but nonetheless. Their expected goals allowed puts them in 10th. They're next to Crystal Palace, Brighton, Man City, and Everton in 10th on expected goals allowed. So they're giving up goals, but they're also giving up really good chances, right? In comparison, Spurs are 15th. No, 17th on expected goals allowed. So, when you're shipping that many goals, it becomes very hard to compete at the highest level. And when we're having a conversation about the amount of good chances that you're giving up is in the same realm as Leicester City and Ipswich Town, then you're going to have a bad day, right? And it's going to be a tough way to dig out of that hole, particularly with the injuries that they have over there. So, what there was other matches that took place this past week. Obviously, there was the North London Derby. Nigel, there was some performances in that game, I think, that might have caught your eye. A couple weeks ago on this podcast, I said maybe we've been looking at the wrong youngster at Arsenal. Based on the performance that you saw from Miles Lewis-Skelly on Wednesday, do you think that I was right?
I think that Arsenal are in a fortunate position where we've got two youngsters. I mean, you need to understand, Ethan is 6 months or a full year younger than Miles. Yeah. So yeah, I think we're in a very, very fortunate position where we've got two players who are genuine elite talents. Miles Lewis-Skelly, I mean, I tweeted it after the game. I couldn't believe what I watched. I watched someone absolutely lock up Dejan Kulusevski. Did not have a chance. And then managed to lock up a completely different player in Brennan Johnson for the second half. So you got one who's skillful, and you got another one who is all about pace. And he did them both. He kept up with Brendan Johnson on the run. He overtook him on one of them. It was unbelievable, and shut down Dejan. And I just think, I said it after the game. I tweeted it. Miles, when KT leaves in the summer, give Miles Lewis-Skelly the number 3 shirt. I know he's a midfielder. People started saying, "Oh yeah, but that's not his position." I know that. I'm not stupid, but sometimes someone goes and plays in a position, and you're like, we need to play him here all the time. Ashley Cole was a left winger. All right? People need to understand Ashley Cole was a left winger who was asked one day to fill in at left back. And everyone was like, oh my God, what have we got here? And Ashley Cole went from playing left wing to left back. Steven Gerrard at Liverpool as a youngster played right back. He was a right back until one of the coaches said, "We're short today. Do you fancy playing in centre midfield, Stephen?" Gerrard goes into midfield, never plays anywhere else ever again. But if you can Google this, and I'll tell you now, if you Google Steven Gerrard right back, the amount of quotes what you will find from past Liverpool players and coaches who said that Steven Gerrard was the best right back at the club, millions. Yeah? Because he was. And that was his position. We've got a chance here with Ethan. He could become genuinely the best left back this club's ever seen. He's the best left back. That performance, no, not blowing any smoke. That performance was the best left back performance I've seen at our club since we had Ashley Cole. It was faultless. Some clown on my reply said Nacho Monreal. That's how much we're in the trenches when we think that Nacho Monreal was a good left back. He was just a decent guy. Yeah, let's not get.
He was a nice guy. He was a nice guy. He was a chill guy.
Yeah, Le Cabria was just a nice guy. Yeah, let's not start blowing some smoke in the wrong place here. Yeah, that was just crazy. Miles was crazy. It's his body strength, Matt. It's his body strength. He has his body strength is unbelievable. He just doesn't lose a ball. He does not lose a ball.
You can tell the way that the players see each other by the positions that they're willing to put each other in, and when you have somebody who you're not sure about, you know what you do? Kick the ball down the field, or you kick it out the sidelines, and you don't care because you'd rather reset and get out of dodge and not put the other guy in a position where you're going to expose him, right? And One of the passes that Gabriel made to Miles Lewis Skelly yesterday was a hospital pass.
But you're right. You're 100% right. And this is the thing. What people don't understand, right? And I was trying to explain to someone yesterday. They were like, "Why are we playing? What if he's a midfielder? Why are we playing left back?" I went, "Hold on a minute. Rico Lewis is a six. Yeah, at Man City, Rico Lewis is a six. Pep Guardiola plays him right back. Why is he doing that? Because the easiest way to learn how to play as a deep lying playmaking six, right, is to start by playing as an inverted fullback, because you've not got the pressure of being in the centre of the pitch and being the focus of attention, the fulcrum. But as a fullback, you're going to learn to defend one-on-one. You're going to learn how to defend pace, defend both sides. You've got to go outside and inside. You learn the fundamentals of a game, yeah, and you've got a chance of coming in field of not being the only person there, yeah. If you're a six, if you're playing as a six, you're the only person there, right? But you've got an option of coming in and being a second person and learning the ropes. It's the best way of teaching a young player how to play as a deep line playmaker, yeah.
Particularly in a system that doesn't have a double pivot, right?
Correct.
That being said, the idea, there's like this narrative, media narrative, that he's never played left back before, and that he like came up this season and they're like, oh, we're gonna stick him in at left back. He's been playing left back in the academy teams for a couple of seasons now, right?
Yeah.
He was raised as a midfielder, but his formal training in the U21s in preparation for this role has been as a left back, right? So
Yeah.
that's one of the misconceptions, which doesn't make what he's doing any less amazing, but it could very well be. I think there's two bona fide options here. One, they wanted to train him as a left back because they thought that that's where the opening was going to be and that he could step in and learn. And two, he might get stuck there because he's so good at it.
This is what I just said. You got to train someone somewhere. The best thing is you put someone at left back, but then, like I've said, the worst mistake Arsenal could make could be to put him back in midfield, because he might go from. You might have possibly got here someone who could become the best left back in the. Genuinely, I'm not talking platitudes. Someone who could generally become the best left back in the world, right? Or you put him in midfield, he's just another midfielder. It just becomes another midfielder, a decent midfielder, someone who doesn't lose the ball much, but is just a good midfielder, right? A decent midfielder. Or it could be a genuine, the next level of left back. And this is the thing, and this is where it's good to have this problem. It is great to have this problem, because one thing what you do know is the moment he plays as a six. And this is why going out in the cup was a bit rubbish, because if we got through, you had a chance then of, if Ben White comes back fit and KT's still here at the time, you got a chance of playing White at right back, KT at left back. Come on, Miles, we'll give you a run in the six just to see what it's like in the cup against a lesser team. But that's gone now. So if he gets a six, you never know, he might get a chance against like Dinamo Zagreb in the Champions League. You never know. But saying that though, all games can't at the moment in the Champions League, so that'd be tough. But yeah, I fully agree. Sometimes, like I said, a player goes and plays somewhere and then gets stuck there. Bukayo Saka came through as a left back, goes and plays right wing because we're short. Bang, done. Never, don't move ever again. Okay, and this is what happens with players. They grow up playing somewhere, they go and play somewhere else, and someone saying, we made a mistake playing him there. Declan Rice was a centre back. Now a box-to-box midfielder. Primarily a six, but a great box-to-box midfielder.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, you know, with Declan Rice, for example, you have somebody who's they're talking about bringing in Zubamendi, and he might be an 8-8, right? Yeah. Like moving forward. That makes me think of somebody who's in attendance at the North London Derby and a couple of the games this past weekend, which is newly appointed England manager Thomas Tuchel. And when you see Declan Rice doing this box to box stuff, when you see Miles Lewis Skelly playing this way at left back, I would be salivating if I was Thomas Tuchel about the options that you have. You have. I'm like, oh, the combinations. I look like the guy from Zach Galifianakis in the card counting movie when you're like, okay, I can play John Stones and Gahey as center back, and I can play Lewis Skelly as left back who can go all over. And oh wait, I have Wharton who can play 6. I have Rice who can play 8, and I can actually play Jude Bellingham as a 10. And oh, I have a left winger who's really good, and Anthony Gordon. And by the time the World Cup comes around, Bukayo Saka will be fit and firing. And Harry Kane is still hanging on for whatever he can do up there, and you're like, whoa, bringing somebody who plays attacking football, and next thing you know, like the squad is looking really lively. Obviously Kyle Walker and the right back situation is going to need to be resolved on some level, but I think it really puts a new spin on what you can achieve coming into that position as well.
Yeah, I actually think Tuchel will play 3 at the back. I think he'll play 3 at the back. I think he'll go 3-4-3, which is similar to what he's done at.
Who's the back 3?
I think he'll probably play Levi Colwill, which is right. I play Levi Colwill as a left centre back. I'd probably play, as it stands, I actually think Harry Maguire is probably the best.
Is it Jacob?
Jacob, I think, is the best centre back. What we've probably got in terms of being able to, in terms of organisation and how it plays. And I think you're right. John Stones is probably the right centre back, but Stones has been injured a lot. And so big question marks there. But you have got others who can step into that role. I mean, there is plenty of others now who are coming through who can step in. Ezra Konza, Mark Gurhe, who've been there, they've played, they've done it in the competitions. Gurhe was quality, I thought, when he played in the.
He was really good.
Konza didn't let us down. So you got other players who can play there. Ben White can play there if White comes back. The only reason why I think he might go 3-4-3 is just.
Do you put Saka and Gordon as the wing backs, and then you get more attackers on?
No, I played Saka and Gordon as a high forwards. And I play Trent on the right, which I think is right. And on the left-hand side, this is where you get a bit interesting, because I would play Lewis Hall from Newcastle, who I think has been unreal this year.
He's been really good.
Yeah, and the only reason why I think that might work is because it means that you can play Rice and Bellingham in the middle, or you can play Rice and Wharton, or you can play Wharton and Palmer. Rice doesn't necessarily get in here, and Palmer doesn't necessarily get in, and Wharton doesn't necessarily get in, and Bellingham doesn't necessarily get in. It gives you a load of options in that middle of a park, and it also means that you can even play Bellingham as a false 9 if you wanted to. But we've got loads of options wide. We've got loads of options in midfield. It's just a striker where we really need someone to come through, because apart from Harry Kane, Ollie Watkins is 29 now. Ivan Toney has got 2 goals in Saudi Arabia so far. He's gone. So on a striker front, it's looking a little lean, shall we say. So I think it might be time that there's a Bellingham false 9 or Gordon. Gordon can play up front. Gordon can play as a centre forward. I think something like that might happen.
Well, there's no big international tournament this summer, so there will be the opportunity to see a couple different setups and a couple different options and profiles, and hopefully Tuchel will take the opportunity to make a couple different picks and then see who shakes out as his best 11. But ultimately, I think anytime you're setting up the formation, you're like, okay, where's our superpower, right? And then based on that superpower and where we have the most players that are top level and we can rotate, then build out the squad from there. And then you have to make tough decisions at some point, no matter what. That brings us into this next match week. I think we're there. This weekend, we have what I would consider to be the premier game of the week, which is Ipswich. I'm just kidding. I think the Newcastle Bournemouth game is actually going to be quite interesting. Up at St. James's Park, Bournemouth coming off of, like we said, the result last weekend, the late result against Man City. The keep your wife's name out of my mouth. There's been a lot of their players' names in the transfer market news. And Mbuemo has been kind of the talk of the town on some level or another. Do you think that Brentford have what it takes to go and get a result at St. James's Park at this point? With
Bournemouth,
the form that Newcastle are in?
Bournemouth, yeah.
Why am I thinking about Brentford and Bournemouth?
Brentford
Brentford are hosting Liverpool, so let's go Brentford since I'm on Mbuemo.
Okay.
Let's go Brentford, Liverpool.
I think Brentford get a result. I think they'll get a draw. I think they're a great double chance bet, Brentford. It's funny actually because someone on X put a thing out about away games what are left in the title race, and they said out of the top 10 teams in the league, Arsenal had played all but 2 away from home in the first half of the season, and Liverpool had only played 2 away games in the top half of the season, top half of the table, which I thought was astounding. That they were complete opposites, and I thought, hold on a minute, Arsenal then only lost. They lost 2 of those away games against the top 10, and one of them was because the referee made an absolute ricket of a red card, and the other one was probably our second worst performance of the season away at Newcastle when we lost 1-0. So out of them, I think Liverpool might struggle. I genuinely think Liverpool might struggle away from home, and I think this could be the second game in a row where they drop some points. But then it's on Arsenal, who are playing after them again, to go again. But sometimes this can work in your favour, where you see the team who you're chasing drop points, and it gives you just that you've got that extra bit of extra yard. Declan Rice said it after the game. Sometimes you just got that fire in your belly, and you run a bit quicker, and you try it. Your tackles are a bit snappier, etc. So yeah, it's one of them. I genuinely, Brentford are a great double chance bet for me.
The reality is on these short weeks, like the travel makes a difference, right?
Yeah.
Like if you watch the NBA, for example, there's a historical database of statistics of bench players on the road versus at home, right? And when you're playing what is the equivalent of an NBA back-to-back, and you're playing them both on the road, you've not slept in your bed for a couple days, you're traveling from here to there, and then you go and you're playing against people who are happy to play on the counter against you, it's a setup for disaster,
Yeah, and you're right. I used to watch NBA quite a lot, and it's the road trip game. People who've done a 5-game road stint, especially if you've gone from West Coast, East Coast, or East Coast, West Coast, you used to get towards the middle of that. You were struggling. They were struggling, and only the top teams ever came out of it with minor marks. So yeah, it's tough. Brentford will have played 2 home games, same as Arsenal will have played 2 home games. Newcastle will have been at home twice. Bournemouth will have been away twice. So these are all things what you do need to take into account. And you are right. I think Brighton will have probably done the most travel. Brighton will have gone to Norwich. They went to Norwich at the weekend. Then they went away again, didn't they? Was they away again? Yeah, they were away again, weren't they?
Ipswich.
To Ipswich, and then they've got to go up to Man United. And then Man United after that, I think they are away at somewhere. I can't remember. They're away at somewhere.
Fulham.
Yeah. I think it's a big test. I think it's a big test for Man U. That game against Brighton. But yeah, you're right about the travel, which is why, although I think Bournemouth have got the skills to be able to go to Newcastle and get a result, get a draw, maybe sneak a win, because they are a great counter-attacking side. I just think going up there for an early kickoff, they'll be leaving today. They'll be getting there.
A terrible injury list.
Yeah, they'll be flying up there now. So they'll get there around the afternoon, and then you're settled in. But the injuries, Evan Nielsen out, but they were good against Chelsea. They were good.
Evan Nielsen, Erjao, Senesi, Alex Scott, Adam Smith, Marcus Tavernier, Luis Sinistera, and Enes Unal. I mean, that's a mid-table team right there.
Yeah,
that's out.
Yeah, but then you look at who's actually in, and their front three of Semenyo, Kluivert, Django Ouattara. That's a great front three as it stands currently, and they're scoring for fun.
And Tyler Adams has come out of nowhere to put in some good performances.
He was good at Leeds. And how Bournemouth managed to get him for next to nothing is crazy. He's a good player, Tyler Adams. And then they're solid at the back. Zabarnyi and Hyson are very, very good centre-back pairing. Milos Kerkez is a very, very good left-back. These things all, if that starting 11 can keep it, can be in the game, you only need to sprinkle a few changes in just to freshen up legs and you're all right. For me, Newcastle, not making many changes currently. Even though they're winning games, they don't make many changes. And it only needs one or two of them to drop. And all of a sudden but Newcastle are a form team. Newcastle are on fire.
I mean, at this point, you go and you look back at the last few matches that Newcastle's played, right? And I'm gonna go back to before Christmas. Alexander Isak, hat trick. Alexander Isak goal, Gordon goal. That's against Villa. Isak goal. Isak and Gordon goal. Isak and Gordon goal. Gordon goal. Isak brace. Gordon goal. I mean, good luck. Good luck. Let me know how it works out for you.
Yeah, I mean, this the thing, and if KP's that quiet, you've then got to keep Gordon quiet. And for me, like I said, that game, Newcastle Bournemouth probably got the best two left wingers in the league playing against each other. Simple. Semenyo on one side and Gordon on the other. They're the best two left wingers in the league playing against each other. So yeah, that'll be fun. I think there'll be fireworks. That's definitely a both teams to score game, I think. But yeah, that's what I mean.
Before we get out of here, let's talk the Unai derby. We have Arsenal hosting Aston Villa at the Emirates. Arsenal coming off of what could turn out to be a season-defining win, genuinely, in the North London derby against obviously a depleted Spurs, but an Arsenal team that has been suffering, right? Yeah. That, like I said, we could have canceled this podcast after crashing out in the cup to Man U, losing, and then, God forbid we had lost against Unai. There would have been insane yet totally predictable calls for people to lose their jobs. So in the wake of the change in fortune that we've seen this week and the energy that's behind Arsenal, how do you see this one playing out now with Unai's villains headed down the road to the Emirates?
Ooh, well, Villa's away record against the top 10 is sketchy. Very, very sketchy. Last season, they were miles better. I think this year they have really, really struggled with the European game. They've done well in the Champions League. They're not doing as well in the league. And last year you saw Newcastle fail on both sides. They couldn't do one or the other, and it really, really hurt Newcastle. Man United struggled last season with Champions League and league, and they just collapsed. Yeah. Villa have done really well in the Champions League. They've been up for it, and Unai seems to have really gone for that. And then the league form has struggled. I think they've got a negative goal difference. They against the top 10 away from home. I don't think they've won a game away against the top 10 away from home. They might have won one. And yeah, I think that yes, they're coming off the back of a win, but they have the recent form's not been great. And I just think that Wednesday night was a turning point for Arsenal. It's funny. It's unbelievable the parallels with last season. What some of the things that we've seen. So we saw in December last year. I think we played. So we got. Did we get something like 3 draws and 1 win and 2 losses at like 6 games in December last year? And in that time, I think we scored something like 4 goals out of 55 shots or something like that. It was something crazy, where we scored 4 goals and had about a combined 14 XG. Couldn't hit a barn door. We were horrendous. And then we played Liverpool in the cup at home, lost 2-0, had about 1 million chances to score in that game. Should have been 5-0 up after 10 minutes. And that knocked us out of the cup and we were dead. We did the same against Newcastle. Where we had hundreds of chances, lost 2-0. The Brighton, Fulham, and Man United games, we scored 3 goals in them 3 games, and we had about 30 chances. I mean, against Man United, it could have been about 6-1, and we just spurning chance after chance after chance. And then all of a sudden, we came back from Dubai, and we won 2-1 at Forest. This year, we play Tottenham at home, and we win 2-1. And in that 2-1 game, we look very, very comfortable for 85 minutes, and then the last 5 minutes will look a little bit shaky. It was exactly the same. We looked a little bit Them last 5 minutes, I thought we were a little bit of panic setting, because I think they were thinking, this is massive. We need to get this win. And Thomas Partey started giving the ball away. We started booting it a little bit instead of holding on to it. It happened last year away at Forest, and they scored in about the 89th minute, I think it were. And it was a bit squeaky bum then. But then the following game, we battered, I think it was Palace, we battered 5-0 at home after that 2-1 away at Forest. I've got a feeling that that we could really give Villa a thousand, because I think we might have just turned the corner. I genuinely think Arsenal might have just turned the corner, and this could be the start of a big run. If you look at the games, what they've got coming up as well, there's parallels to last year again, because after Villa, we then away, but then we've got Man City at home, roughly about the same time as what we played Liverpool at home last year when we beat them 3-1. So, yeah.
First couple of days of February on that season. Obviously, there was a winter break last year. This season, it does look like Arsenal are going to be able to skirt off to Dubai at some point in February, now that they've been out of the cup. I mean, it's so hard, because you want to win, you want to be, and you want to win every competition, right? That's why we do what we do. And at the same time, when your squad is as threadbare as ours is, not that I think you should punt the cups, but I don't think that it's the worst outcome to be out of the FA Cup at this point. Obviously, you're in a semifinal in the other cup and you have one leg to go change that result and get yourself into a final, which is going to be a big day out for the fans and for the players. But I'm not, given the circumstances and given who's out and given all of that stuff, the ability to lose this next FA Cup to skip that and to get a couple extra days rest, I think is dare I say necessary. So yeah, it's interesting. I think that Aston Villa will score. I think they've scored in something like 8 of their 9 last games or something crazy like that. So I think that they'll score, but I do think that Arsenal will get the win. For me, it's going to be 3-1 with that third goal coming late. Let's do your score predictions real quick, Nigel, while I have you here.
Newcastle, Bournemouth. I think both teams will score in that. Could be 1-1 or 2-2. Brentford, Liverpool, same. I think it could be a Desmond 2-2. Leicester, Fulham, 3-1 Fulham. West Ham, Palace. Ooh. Now we're talking. I'll go 1-1. Arsenal, Villa. I want to say 2-0 Arsenal. I might even say 3, but I don't want to be cheeky. I think it'll be. I don't think it'll be the same game as what we saw last year. Put it that way. Everton, Tottenham. Sorry, Spurs fans. Everton 2, Tottenham 1.
Oof.
Man United, Brighton. Man United 1, Brighton 2.
Big away win.
Forest 4-0 against Southampton. Ipswich, Man City 1-1. And Chelsea to hammer Wolves. I think Chelsea will get a result against Wolves. 4-0.
If that holds, that would bring Ipswich out of the drop zone for what I think would be the first time this weekend. It's going to be an interesting weekend of results. As always, the fixture calendar never disappoints. Let's take 2 seconds. Any transfer rumors that you want to hit on?
Well, I mean, so people were breaking news about. So the rumor was that there was an agent who was at a big game agent. It was at the game for Arsenal Spurs. Somebody who I talked to quite regular, they'd been saying all along that the idea is that they might be able to get Dusan Vlahovic on a loan with an option for 6 months because Juve are desperate to get rid of at least half his wages off their books. I think he's on about 360,000 a week or 370,000 a week at Juve after his contract kicked in the summer. The one apart from Arsenal are I think the team who's looking like they want to bring someone in is Nottingham Forest. So Forest in the summer tried buying Eddie Nketiah. Also looked at Pavlidis from AZ Alkmaar, who ended up going to Benfica. And the reason why they were after a striker is because of Taiwo Awoniyi's injury problems and the fact that they'd only got Chris Wood as the backup. Now it looks like Awoniyi might be going in January. They might try and sell him now, which means that they then want a striker. Now the other person who we looked at was Santiago Jimenez at Feyenoord, and from what I'd been told, there's a good chance that they might go back for Jimenez. But if you're going to buy Jimenez, what does that say to Chris Wood? Because you ain't spending 30 million on Jimenez, who's got other clubs in Europe looking at him for him to come and sit on the bench. And yet you've got Chris Wood, who's probably the second best striker in the Premier League on form at this moment in time, behind Alex Isak. So Yeah, that's one to keep an eye on. Forest buying a striker is definitely one to keep an eye on. My guy at Man United says that they're not doing any business in January. He said they haven't got any money to do it. Ideally, they'd try to offload some players if they could to either on full sale or on loans where they can clear some wages down. That seems to be what was coming out of there. And my pal at Newcastle said that they've got no plans on doing any business in January. Their full focus is on the summer.
Qualifying for the Champions League and moving on in the summer. I do want to note that probably one of my favorite quotes of recent times has come out today, and that was in an exclusive interview between Fabrizio Romano and this player's agent, who said, I quote, "I don't know from where does this story comes.
Elvis
I have never talked with Arsenal about loan of Sesko. Period. Sesko is not a player for loans. Never a topic for Arsenal or any other club." He continues to say, "Even if we're aware of interests from several top clubs for a long time, if you ask me if Sesko will move in January, I can only say Sesko is RB Leipzig player and they can answer these questions."
Yes. I saw that and I thought, that's a good way of saying, I can't say anything right now because I don't want to get into trouble.
On either side. That is
Yes.
those are the words of a man who has one good client, and he is not going to fumble this bag. He will not be the one fumbling back. Anybody, Sesko might fumble the bag, RB Leipzig might fumble the bag. It will not be fumbling out of the hands of Elvis Basanovic, my man, friend of the show. Great to see you, Nigel. We'll talk again soon. And that's all for today. Thanks for joining us. Hit your like, subscribe, follow. Put your moment of the week in the comments. Leave your favorite transfer rumor, and we'll talk to you next time.